host. Ashley will be the host. So welcome. Just 2 more minutes. We should be able to start. 2 more minutes. Ashley, give me a heads up. Naughty, let's get ready with the PowerPoint let's get ready with the PowerPoint for our next presentations, because Naughty is going to give us our announcements. But I want to welcome everyone. It's going to be an exciting time. Why Black History Matters. If there are any visitors that are within the setting, we also want to welcome you. I know Chris told me about someone, Jack. Jack should be here, a visitor, Jack. Thank you so much. Can I just make an announcement just before Naughty comes in with the main announcement? Usually we buy people data for these sessions, and that's true. We buy people data for these sessions. Our data fund is depleted. Over the past couple of weeks, we've been buying data, and our data fund is honestly depleted. But if it's possible that people want to help, please, by all means, I beg you, we beg you, please do help so that you can be able to buy data for people. So you may know transparency, we buy 30 rands for each person, and it's only limited to South Africa. There have been people from our lovely country, Zimbabwe, that have been asking for data, but we're incapable of sending data to any country outside South Africa. So it's only going to be internal as far as we can go. So those that want to help, we implore you, by all means, please do. I'll send my number on the chat and Ashley's number as well, so that you can be able to start off from there on. Right. Naughty, I want to unmute you now so you can give us our announcements. Ashley will be helping with the PowerPoint. Then after that, Ashley will take over with a word of prayer. Then Cain starts over. All right. Naughty, I'm unmuting you now quickly so that you can be able to pull through. Let me look for you on the platform here.
Happy Sabbath, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you. Our announcements are as follows. Firstly, we are live on Facebook. So if it happens that you're kicked out of the platform, feel free to join us on Facebook. Secondly, we have lesson study during the week. So tomorrow, Sunday, we'll be starting at 7 p.m. And then we'll also have another session on Tuesday and another session on Thursday. Then on Sabbath morning, we always have Sabbath school lesson at 9:30 a.m. As Taz said, we have our funds. We give people funds, and right now we don't have much. If possible, please assist us. Yes. Yeah, those are our announcements for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry about that. I see that I shared the wrong screen there. But yeah, we've also got like an action-packed Sabbath 2:30 conversations, which is where you guys are currently. This is 2:30 conversations. I'm sure many of you have been with us since day one, and we have been enjoying the different speakers that we've been having, both local and international. We tackle different aspects. Perhaps it is paramount that I point out at this point in time that 2:30 conversation is aimed at a holistic approach to spiritual things. That is our relationship with our God, who is our creator, the first 4 commandments, as well as our relationship between mankind, issues of social justice or the lack thereof being the last 6 commandments. So you'll realize that mostly our afternoon sessions are more inclined to deal with issues of social justice or those relationships between ourselves and fellow mankind. That being said, we are very open for any suggestions, topics. If you guys have topics that you want to discuss, we are very, very open to those suggestions, including if you have speakers that you would love to see join us on the platform as well. Please let us know. In fact, most of the speakers that we've been having have been suggestions from people coming through on the platform. And I see a message there saying that we need to give awards to people that have been here from day one. The loyal guys, the numbers have been increasing and increasing. I think last week we hit about 1,400 viewers, and that's just, that number keeps going up and up. So please feel free to invite your family, your boyfriends and girlfriends, provided that your ex are also allowed onto the platform. That is if you broke up with them more than 6 months ago. If you broke up with them within 6 months, just give it 6 months, then you can invite them to join us on the platform. Today, we are joined by the patriarch himself, Brother Cain. I'm going to reclaim the host here from Tandazo so that I can be able to unmute the patriarch, Cain Ndumiso, Cain, please unmute yourself, sir, and then I'm going to put you now into speaker view so that we can see you and hear you. Cain, thank you so much for joining us. Today we're going to be tackling a very crucial issue. You'll notice that the vast majority of people on this platform are Black people, and a few colored guys here and there. But today we are going to be talking about the importance of being Black and our history as Black people. Most of us in this platform are young professionals. We need to understand what is the importance, what happens. Many of us might not really realize the necessity of knowing where we come from, which might affect where we are going as well. But Brother Cain is going to be taking us through that. Cain, say hi to the people, my brother. Say something. Let us hear you speak.
Sanmanani, hello, everyone. Happy Sabbath. That's the proper greeting. Happy Sabbath. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, is it possible? Am I audible?
Yeah, you are beautifully audible. Maybe your voice will get louder and louder as the program goes.
Happy Sabbath to everyone, and thank you for inviting me. It's good to see familiar faces, old names and new names. I'm still the same guy. Don't think of anything strange. Nothing has happened. Just grew a beard.
Thank you so much. That is it, Cain Ndumiso, guys. We are going to kickstart into our program now. Ndumiso has prepared a presentation that he's going to be taking us through for the next few minutes. Thereafter, we're going to carry on the program as we often do. After he's done, we'll open up to the hands and comments, and then we'll have a discussion for the next couple of hours. Cain, over to you, sir. Maybe let us just have a quick word of prayer before we hand over to Brother Cain. Our eyes are closed and we are praying. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the gift of life. We are going to be now tackling an important issue, dear Father. We pray for pragmatic views, dear God. We pray for objectivity. We also seek your Holy Spirit and your guidance, dear Father. May you humble us, give us the spirit, dear Father, of learning, inspire our thoughts, inspire also the facilitator that is going to be taking us through. When all is said and done, dear Father, all glory belongs to none other but you. This being our prayer, in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ashley, and the panel that invited me to speak. We are talking about Black history. I think what has actually triggered people to talk about Black history is the recent events in America. We have been privileged by the internet for us to actually see what's happening beyond our noses, because chances are very high that some of us actually didn't even know what's happening outside of our own comfort zone. So now that because of what's happening with the Black Lives Matter in America, it has actually given us an opportunity to speak on matters that we had for so long stopped speaking on. The humanity of the Black child and his space in history, his space in the future, and his space in the current setting. So I was asked to speak on Black history matters, or why does Black history matter? We'll be looking at that. I titled this myself, A Journey to the Future Past. I would like to start with a text from Solomon. Solomon says there is nothing new under the earth. There is nothing new. So if you wanted to do something that has not been done, it's best that you look backwards, because there's nothing new that you will do that has not been done. You can actually change the packaging, but the actual matter or the actual task of what you're trying to do, the gist of it all has been done. So if you wanted to perfect something, it's best that you look backwards, because Solomon says there's nothing new under the sun. So we are coming from a dispensation as Black people that has demonized our history, that has demonized our past. So in such a way, we are afraid to look backwards. We always want to look forward ever, and backward never. And yet the Bible says nothing that you're going to do is going to be new on this earth. It has been done. So I think we can go to the next slide so that we can start. I only have, I think, 20 minutes. They said they're giving me 20 minutes to start. I'll start with one of the interesting people in Black history, Mosiah Marcus Garvey. He says a people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Now, you want to know that those that have done a bit of some farming know that a tree is sustained by its roots. The water that comes into the tree and everything else goes through via the roots. The nutrients, the anchoring of the tree is actually the support structure of the tree is the roots. So Marcus Garvey says, if you do not know your history, you are like a tree without roots, and a tree without roots is a dead tree. So the longer it grows, the tree, the roots get deeper and stronger. So what you see is a tree above the ground, but what you don't see is the action is below the ground. That's where the action is. That's where the nutrients are. That's where the water is. And so Marcus Garvey equates history of a nation to the roots. So if you are a Black child in this century and you do not know your history, you are just like a tree without roots. And that means you can only survive for a few days. And after that, you die. Most of you will die without even bearing any fruits because there is nothing to sustain you for the bearing of fruits. So I put up there a picture of it's taken from one of the zombie movies. It's zombies against the wall. Now there's an illusion. There's an illusion, or it's not an illusion. It's a way of thinking that says, let us always be focused on what's going on ahead of us. Let us not look backwards. But I have a question for all of you who are participating on this. Who, by opening wide their eyes, can actually see tomorrow? No matter how much you open your eyes, you would never see tomorrow. No matter how tall you grow, you can never grow tall enough to see tomorrow. All of us are stuck on an imaginary wall called tomorrow. Yet behind us, there is a clear path that has been walked for centuries. Now, the history of life, we actually call it the corridor of life. Why is it called the corridor of life? It means in it, there is a lot of history going backwards. If you wanted to know anything about this earth, look backwards, because where you are going, there is an imaginary world called tomorrow, and you cannot see anything beyond what you are seeing today. You cannot even predict the next 2 seconds. So if you wanted to know the story of the earth, let's say 19 June 2020, there's 7.5 billion people on this earth right now. They can actually, the volume is low. I'm not sure. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are, Cain. The volume is a bit low, but you're still audible. We're trying to work on that, everyone. Just keep talking. We're trying to work on that as well. Just try maybe to get closer to the laptop if you can. But yeah, we'll try.
Okay, so you get to see that as you are proceeding with life, you are told much to look ahead. And I'm saying for you to look ahead, there is an imaginary line called tomorrow, and that's an imaginary wall. You can never see beyond that wall, but you can always clearly see behind you where the corridor of life has left enough history for you. So the idea of us looking at tomorrow, because our colonizer wants us to look, forget about the history, they would say, look on what's ahead. Look on what's ahead, because they know that everything that they do is based on history. Our education, I'm not sure if there's anyone who does mysticism or mythical studies and stuff, but most of us are not even prophets. So definitely all our education is historic education. When you're doing engineering, you're doing structures that have been built, trying to build new structures. So for you to build a new structure, you have to look at structures that have been built and you learn from them so that you can build a new structure. If you're in the field of medicine, you need to know the history of the disease. You need to know how it started, where it started, why did it start, all those things. So everything that we do is historic. Accounting, you need historic evidence of what has been done, the transactions that have transpired. You are not looking at what will happen because you don't know what will happen, but you know exactly what has happened. So we've been all our life, everything that we have learned it based on the idea that the past informs the future. And those that forget their past are bound to be in the same repetitive process of which history could have taught them something. So to make sure that we continue in servitude as Black children, we are told never to look into our past. Do not focus on the past, focus on the future. But yet the future is always informed by the past. What we failed to do yesterday would always come and haunt us today. Can we move to the next slide? Actually, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, because of time, so I try to look at maybe things that are really fast. There's a book written by Carter G. Woodson. It says The Miseducation of a Negro. He says, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him not to stand here or yonder. He will find his proper place and he will stay in it. You do not need to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. So the idea of blocking us from knowing our history allows us to be mentally enslaved. Why are we mentally enslaved? Because whoever is teaching us our history is teaching us a history of servitude. They would never teach you a history of heroism. You go to school, I studied history myself, and many a times you would study European history, you would study the great Greeks, but you would not do much justice to the African history. If you were to talk of African history, you'll probably be talking about the savagery of Ushaka. They would not be discussing how smart he was. When you go into the Zulu culture and you ask for Shaka's totems, they will tell you Uti Ilembe, Lekamanya Malembe, Kalip, meaning to them they viewed Shaka as wise. But if you read history in the European sense, Shaka was a savage, a ruthless guy, all those things. So the idea of you knowing your history and telling your history is you have an opportunity to shine through your perspective into history. Because the idea of having the conqueror being the one who writes history puts you as the one that lost in a very predicament. Yeah, but that word. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yes. English. Right. Why the miseducation? Now you need to understand that because Africa has been in a position of consuming things for a very long time. We are consumers. We consume education, we consume medicine, we consume food, we consume almost everything that we do in Africa is based on a consumer-supplier relationship, and Africa being the consumer. So we consume education. Right now, you're talking about Black history. Most of it is not even written by Blacks. Most of the history that you know is not even written by Blacks. The history of your own people is not even written by Blacks. It's a white man who comes in, David Livingstone comes in and he says he discovered Vic Falls, and yet there is your people sitting around the Vic Falls. You have all these statues that are now being removed all over the world because of that idea that the white man comes in and says he is. Where he comes, that's where the light shines. So before he came there, there is nothing. Now, there's a statement there written by H.L. Mencken says, the aim of public education is not to spread enlightenment to all. It is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same level, the same safe level, to breed and train a standardized citizenry, to put down dissent and originality. So when we go to school, there are statements like I was born smart and school failed me, all those things. That's exactly what school is meant for. You might think that you're going there to be enlightened, but actually they are making sure that you are ready to be a law and abiding citizen who cannot think beyond what the system wants you to think. So if we tell you that there's nothing in your history, it's just demons, don't even think about your history, don't even think about what your ancestors did, because it's just demons. And there's nothing that they contributed to the civilization of man. All that they did was to run around naked with spears, marrying as many women as they wanted. There is nothing. So you look to your own history and find nothing, because they told you that there is nothing. There is the statement there, the second one, he says, I do not want a nation of thinkers, but I want a nation of workers. And look at us here as Africa. Currently, we've got the coronavirus raging all over the world. And Mhlonyana once said it can actually assist us. But because our thinking does not belong in Africa, thinking must come from Europe, we are still in lockdown. Because the idea of us leading the world right now to say, nah, we are breaking all the lockdown rules, there's Umhlonyana, people must go back, Africa is opened again. We are afraid because our education has allowed us not to be thinkers, but workers. We work what the white man has taught for us. The thinking process is not ours. We are not allowed to think. We think memorizing. When you go into a school and you memorize and you pass an exam, we think that's thinking. That's not thinking. Intelligence and wisdom are two different things. The ability to answer a few questions in a certain period of time does not make you smart. But we've been taught that this is smart, you're being smart. So, and yet you meet a person with a PhD and they are dumb. Okay. Kataji Woodson says, I can't see properly there. The screen is, can you try and move the slide to my left a bit? The other screen is blocking me. The other screen is blocking me. I don't know whether you can move that slide on top of the other one. That just move that.
Let me just see if I can edit it. Okay, do you want me to do this?
Yeah, it's fine now. It's fine now. Just leave it there. Those who have no record of what their forebearers have accomplished lose the inspiration which comes from teaching of biography and history. No, that's the same book, The Miseducation of the Negro. So why are they miseducating us? They don't want us to have a record of what our ancestors did. Why? Because we begin to lose inspiration. I've coined this idea in my own way to say it's actually a success fatigue. You get to a point where you are successful and you get fatigued. So when you get fatigued because of your success, it's because behind you, everyone that's following behind you has not done what you have done. Which is why when most of us make it probably above R1 million, we get confused. Because none of us has made R1 million. You look backwards, there is no one in your family that has ever made R1 million, so you get confused. I've coined it in my own thinking to say it's actually a success fatigue for the black child. The black child looks ahead and he sees that there is not as many people that are successful that are like him. So he gets tired. You buy your first car, and for sure you have arrived, and you get tired because you're the first one in your village with a car. You are the first one in your family with a degree. You are the first one in the village to have a degree. You are the first one in the whole town to be known to be having a PhD. And you cannot move further because you're already, that success is way, way, way above what you have around you. So it causes that fatigue. And this is why when we go into these institutions, the higher we go, the whiter it becomes. And then we fall off as black children because we get tired. We get tired of being the only nigger. We get tired of being the first nigger. We get tired of being. This is why you find us in spaces where we have no one to look up to. Remember, we grew up being told to and unfortunately, abaphambili basemove. So when you get to where you are going, you get there, you are a CEO, you're the first CEO, and you're a female, and now you want to contemplate marriage. You look around, there is not even one black CEO. All that you see are white CEOs, and now you want to marry a brother, and the brother, the only thing that he has is MasterCard, and that guy is telling you now, you must submit to him, and you're like, but I run a multinational company. Why must I be submitting to you when the only thing that you have is MasterCard? So, and even when your marriage gets wayward, you don't even know who to consult. Because when you get home, that CEO-ness does not leave. You are the CEO of an institution. And when you get there at home, the whole family looks up to you. So when you have a problem, no one can assist you because you are the epitome of everything that we could ever do. So now, Carter Woodson is saying, once you block people from knowing their history, you create that success fatigue. They will think that they've achieved everything that is there to be achieved. But if they had been given an opportunity to look backwards and see the successes, if you thought you were smart and you look back and you see that behind you there's Solomon, then you will go back to the library again to reread, because you know that your smartness you can be smart, but if you've written 1,000 proverbs like Solomon, so you see that your challenges will always be higher. If you thought that you're a very good engineer, you've designed everything that you have done, but if you look back and you see the pyramids of Egypt, you would see that you have not started. So you always have this inspiration, If you think about the Great Zimbabwe and you think, how did they build these things without cement? Then you realize that the home that you have built with cement and cranes and all these things is nothing based on what they have created. So you've always been given the opportunity to look backwards and say, how did they do it? If my ancestors were this great, why am I celebrating just a small achievement? Okay, let's move forward to the next slide. Kemet, Kemet or Egypt, or whichever way that you want to call it, is one of the anchoring spots of modern civilization. The debate around Kemet was ancient Egypt or were the pyramids created by black people? If people cannot prove that the pyramids were created by black people or by white people, mostly they fail to prove that it was created by white people, so they try and find someone else. And if evidence shows that the pyramids were created and built by black people, that's where you hear the ideas that no, it was actually aliens that were building the pyramids. Why? Because if they would let us accept the idea that Egypt was built by black people, it will challenge every black child across the continents to rethink our value on this earth. There is a monument that was left by our ancestors in Egypt. To this day, modern engineering cannot explain how the pyramid was built. How do you pile up rocks 30 tons and above on each other? They still cannot explain. So the best way of explaining it is to explain it away from you, the black child. So in 1970, can you move the other slide on the side so that I can see also? Actually, can you move the one on the right? Yes, this is Sheikh Anta Diop. This is Sheikh Anta Diop is one of the guys who actually was involved in trying to answer this question: who built the pyramids of Egypt? So yeah, it's fine. I can read from there. So ancient Egypt was a Negro civilization. This is Sheikh Anta Diop's words. The history of Black Africa will remain suspended in the air and cannot be written correctly until African history dare to connect it with the history of Egypt. The African historian who evades the problem of Egypt is neither modest nor objective nor unruffled. He is ignorant, cowardly, and neurotic. The ancient Egyptians were Negroes. The moral fruit of their civilization is to be counted among the assets of the Black world. That's Sheikh Anta Diop. So in 1974, UNESCO challenged him and said, okay, prove that the pharaohs of Egypt were black. So Sheikh said, okay, give us one mummy, and everyone else who's disputing my thoughts, give us one mummy and we do a test on the skin. Let's see the content of the melanin on the skin of the mummies. So Sheikh Anta Diop came with these results and said, yeah, it is. This person has a lot of melanin, meaning he was black. The rest of the people that were supposed to be disputing this, they did not bring out their results. Why? Because they knew that they've been lying all along. Move to this next slide. Move to the next slide so that I don't talk the whole day. And in Egypt, that's where Pythagoras, those that love mathematics, I love mathematics myself. I loved the Pythagoras theorem. And the only thing that I was told in school was that Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras came up with the theory that he called himself the theory of Pythagoras theorem. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. And they never taught you who taught Pythagoras. Actually, Pythagoras was taught in Egypt. Now, if you read the history of Pythagoras, there's an interesting thing there. He says he went to Egypt to go and learn, and when he got there, he said he wanted to learn intelligence. And they said, no. Here in Egypt, you don't just come and say you want to be intelligent. First of all, we need to understand why do you want to be intelligent, because truth is not just your intellectual process, but truth is life. So for you to engage in all these things that we call Egyptian intelligence, you need to go through a 40-day fast. I know you're all Christian here. Most of you know the 40-day fast that Jesus went through, and that was after also he had gone to Egypt. So the idea of starting up this great work with the truth begins with this fast that actually demystifies why you want to know things. It demystifies your mission. So Pythagoras and all these other guys that you know, Socrates, Aristotle, all these guys, they were taught in Egypt, and they went to Greece. They then plagiarized. They never mentioned their sources. They never told anyone that no, we learned all these things in Egypt. Let us move forward. Let's move forward. Yes, so these are the ancient civilizations that our ancestors built. There is the one in Egypt, Kemet, and then the one on the right is it's in Sudan. The one in Sudan actually has more pyramids than the ones that are in Egypt. You probably think that there are only 3 pyramids in Africa, the pyramids of Giza, but there is more pyramids in Sudan than they are in Egypt. Let's move to the next one. Okay, then in West Africa, so that was Northeast Africa, which is Egypt, and then in West Africa, which is, there are 2 cities that I've put there. You see the first one on your left, it's actually the city of Benin. The city of Benin is found in what is today modern day Nigeria. This city is known to be the biggest man-made structure in the world. The wall is actually bigger than the China wall. I know you thought that the Chinese wall is actually the longest or the biggest thing that has ever been constructed by men, but that's not the truth. The biggest is in Africa, and it's actually the city of Benin. It's actually the single largest archaeological phenomenon on the planet. It was built by black people in Benin, and they knew that Benin, West Africa, they can't now say all the stories that they've been saying about Egypt, that possibly it could be the Arabs, possibly it could be the Greeks, possible that it could be aliens. But now Benin is clear that now this is West Africa, where the Africans are. To your right, you have a library. That's a library in Timbuktu, Mali. There was a kingdom of Timbuktu there, which is one of the richest men. He's been, now they've accredited him to be the richest man who ever lived on earth, Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was actually so rich that he even created, there was a library of books. I think this is what got former President Thabo Mbeki in trouble for because he had gone to Timbuktu, and when he came out of Timbuktu, he said, can we have an opportunity to have these books opened? Let us read from the ancients. Let us read what they thought in those days, how they built Timbuktu in Mali, how they built, probably here in these books, they could be the secret of how the pyramids were built. But all these libraries have been closed, and only those that have been inspired by the Europeans are the ones that must be opened. But yet our ancestors wrote a lot of things down, and they taught a lot of things, and they created a lot of things that are mysterious. Let's move to the next slide. The next slide, I like this one because you see there are similarities. You would think that this is the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's not in the same place. The one on your left, it's actually Mpumalanga, SA. And around these ring structures, there is actually one of the oldest structures now on Earth. Remember, first time when you learned about history, you were told, no, it was the Khoisans that were the first here in Southern Africa, so that the European can justify himself and say he came into Africa when they were Khoisans, and if ever he was going to give us back the land, he would give it to the Khoisans. But now history is proving them to be wrong. These are structures that are found in Mpumalanga, and they've been accredited to be around the oldest structure on Earth, which is called Adam's calendar. If you want, you can Google up Adam's calendar. Adam's calendar is it's actually the oldest man-made calendar made by stones, like 3 to 5 ton stones that are standing there that work as a calendar based on the shadow that the sun casts on these stones. It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting story. You can Google it up, Nzalo Yelanga, Adam's calendar, and see. This is in Mpumalanga. The one on top right, that's Great Zimbabwe, and then across the Limpopo. So this structure in Mpumalanga, this one in Great Zimbabwe, then the one, the bottom one there on the right underneath Zimbabwe, it's in Burundi. So now you've got 1, 2, 3 structures in different and far apart places in Africa, telling you that there was a civilization that was building similar things at a particular time. So how was this knowledge passed over? What was the idea of building these secular structures what was inspiring Africans all over the continent to be building a similar structure. And all these structures, if you read into the stories and all that's happening, they were all built according to the movement of the stars. So you're talking about people that understood astrology. So they took astrology from the sky and they put it down on their ground. So they know why these concentric rings are like this, why there must be a ring upon a ring. Yeah, no, I think it's Ezekiel who says there was a wheel upon a wheel. So you know that there is deeper knowledge, not just because it was done in one part of Africa and it was a random act. It wasn't even random. So you find these structures. If you go deep onto the internet, you will see that it's not only Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, and the central parts of Africa where these structures were found. Even West Africa also, yes. So I showed you Benin. Okay, move to the next slide. Okay, not only did we create great civilizations, we also, I know they will tell you that there's nothing good. I mean, right now we're talking over the internet. Many of you are like, yeah, but you're talking about Black history, you're using white people things. That's what also Sheikh Anta Diop says, that history is a way of fooling you to believe that anything that has no one's name on it, you would automatically attribute it to a white person. Because you would think, oh, it was a Belum. Look at them now, they're talking on the internet, they're saying, but you need to know that the father of modern day internet is actually called Philip Amagweli from Nigeria. This one is not even history because he's still alive. He's still inventing and creating things. You can search him. He's actually accredited as one of the guys that created the fastest computer that actually allows us to be on the internet. And on your left here, you've got Louis Latimer. I just chose a few so that the ones that actually stand out, not that they stand out better than anyone, but for the sake of time, Louis Latimer. Louis Latimer is I think he is actually one of the guys who has a painful story, because the two greatest of inventions in our time, which is the telephone and the light bulb, those two were his great inventions. You've heard stories that Thomas Edison tried the light bulb more than 1,000 times. So you must not give up. You must not give up until he got it right. No, he never got it right until he hired a Negro. So it was a black man who came in and said, no, your light bulb is too hot. It's not good. It won't sustain anything and it won't be good for the household. And he created a firmament that allowed for us to have light bulbs right now. So the black man came into the picture and then there was light. He also was the one who wrote the blueprint for Graham's telephone. So when you hear that, oh, no, Graham is the one who invented the telephone, but how do you invent the telephone? You're not the one who wrote the blueprint. So the one that writes the blueprint is the one that actually knows what they're talking about. So one of the greatest inventions that white people would have probably is the patent office, where slaves would invent things and then they'll bring them to the master, and then master says, it's my invention. And he goes to the patent house and he says, this is my invention, put it under my name. So because we are not taught all this history, we don't even want to get. You look at Southern Africa, the results for mathematics, science, they keep on dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, because when you look into our society, who, like currently to young people, who is it that we want to be like? Probably all of us. I mean, I myself really want to be in university. Like university is doing it, John. University has got everything that I'll probably need also for a lifetime, because they don't allow us to know that behind us there were people like Louis Latimer. There were people that would think and come up with light bulbs. They don't even want to tell you, where did Henry Ford learn how to do mass production. They won't tell you that no, it was Washington Carver that actually taught Henry Ford. Yet you know that Henry Ford is the one that came up with mass production. They don't want to tell you that no, it was not Henry Ford. It's actually Washington Carver who actually taught Henry Ford how the plants. That's why it's called a plant, because it's actually how the plant moves things from one point to the next point until it brings out the finished product. That's how Henry Ford was also taught. So they don't want you to learn your history, because your history is not only. I know when we talk about black history, the first thing that you think about is Ukhonza. That's probably the weakest point of every black child. that when you think history, when you hear the word ancestor, the first thing that comes into your mind with so-called laws, they already have infiltrated your mind and told you that ancestry actually means worshiping the dead. It's not worshiping the dead, because when you enter into a school, any school that you enter into, you're busy quoting. Aristotle once said, but then when you're not allowed to say, what my grandfather once said. Already when you say that, no, you can't be using that. You can't be using that, but you are busy quoting. And then Solomon said, yeah, Solomon is dead also. So the idea of not allowing us to look backwards is the idea to block us from going to the future. So if we had to look and see the inventions of the black people, if we understood the minds of people that build without cement, just piling up rocks, and we sit down and we analyze with whatever technology we have now, and we analyze all these structures and see how they actually came up with them, we would actually build civilizations that are better for ourselves. Because what we are taught is not for ourselves. We are taught that which is against ourselves, to increase our lower self-esteem, because anything that we know as successful is white. If it's a black person, if he gets successful, we make sure that we have to pull him down with some form of scandal and we erase him from history. Right? Let's do the last slide. I think my 20 minutes is over.
Before we go to the slide, you're talking, I think there's some tapping. I'm not sure if it's your microphone or something, but there's some tapping. So I don't know, just please try and steady it. We can hear it, but there's just a little bit of some movement, and it's like your microphone is hitting against something.
Okay. I was trying to hold the laptop closer to my mouth. Okay, let's move to the last slide.
All right, here we go.
Okay, the last slide is going to be Paul. I know many of you probably are worried that is this guy still even reading the Bible. I read the Bible probably even more now. I read it more because I no longer read it for Sabbath school or anything else. I now read it for myself. So I found this chapter I love very much, Romans chapter 11. Paul says, you do not support the root, but the root supports you. So remember what Marcus Garvey says in the initial place, that the history, a nation without a history is like a tree without roots. And Paul says, you do not support, you as a stem or you as a branch, you do not support the tree. The tree is supported by the roots. So whatever that you're trying to do, when yourself, you are a representation of your past. Medically, you are diabetic because your grandfather was diabetic. In terms of complexion, you are light because your grandmother on the father's side, they were light. You are tall because your great-grandfather was tall. You are this tempered because your uncle from your father's mother, whatever. But because they were, you are. And if you do not correct what they were, you would continue perpetuating what they were. So you begin to think about how, if you do not want to go to a doctor right now and you tell them that you've got a chronic illness, the first thing they don't even ask you how you got it or anything. They want to know in your family who has it. Why? Because the root supports you. You do not support the root. It's actually the other way around. So Paul says, think about these things. Think about your history. You cannot go as far as the root goes. If your root is actually tapped onto the waters of Mara, you would wonder why you always, has it gone now? Here someone is saying my audio is gone. Ashley, am I still?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So be careful where your tree is rooted. Our tree as Black people is rooted in civil colonization and slavery. That's a bitter history. And that's where we've been sapping all our nutrients, and all that we get is that we are inferior. We are inferior, and that's what we get. We can no longer we won't do anything. If they give us the land, we won't do anything with it because we have allowed to sap from a root that only takes from what we've been told we are. Yet, if we allow ourselves to go deeper past the bitter waters of our recent history into a glorious history into the past, we will come out there with ideas that the Egyptians had when they were building pyramids. We come up with the idea that they had in the great Zimbabwean nation and all these nations when they were building with so much great stones without cranes and all those things. So yeah, I think that will be it for today, just an introduction, but this is where now Marcus Garvey and Paul seem to be saying the same thing. If you do not know your history, you are just like a tree without roots, and you are likely to be the last one of your generation. Imagine that if we all died today of corona, and probably an excavation is done maybe 20 or 30 years from now, and the only thing that is found are our cell phones. And people start seeing our statuses and they see the messages that we've been sending and they say, this is exactly what we were. They look at our walls, they see the graffiti on the wall. So and so Mtawa was here in 2020 and it's written in whatever that we use, our ink, the ink that we use when we. So all these things, you look at them and you say, what legacy are we creating for the future generation? So that when they look back, you remember that the first time when Corona hit, people looked back and they said a certain time there was a Spanish flu. Many of us had never heard of Spanish flu, but we heard of it when Corona hit because people wanted to find solutions from what they had done in the past. So they went back and they said, how did we handle the Spanish flu? Because whatever we are going to encounter in the future, we are likely going to win if we looked back. May the good Lord bless you and may He richly protect you. And most importantly, may He open up your minds for you to be able to view yourselves as people that have come in to contribute. You are not just here to eat chunks, you are here to contribute. The future generation depends on you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cain. We're just getting started. This is the part where we do what we know best. The platform is open. Let us comment. Let us share any questions that we might have. Cain is still here with us for the rest of the afternoon. Facebook, if you're watching us from Facebook Live, please feel free to post your comments in the chat section on Facebook. Leander, go for it, sir. We'll unmute you shortly. Please unmute yourself, Leander, and go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've just got some thoughts that I just wanted to run past the platform. Actually, there's a nasty feedback. I don't know which we are group, yes.
Hi, Leander, are you saying that there's a feedback?
Yeah, there's a nasty feedback. Like I have to speak on top of it. And it's actually distracting my thinking as well.
Is it? And as in, we can't hear it from our side. Is there anyone else that picks up this feedback? Leander, are you logged in from one device or more than one?
Just one.
I have no idea what's going on. Let me just see if I can take the next head and then see if they have the same issue.
Okay, okay, cool.
Otherwise, I'll come back to you, Leander. Okay, Van Heerden, you've been unmuted. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, tell us, are you also getting a feedback?
No, I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay, Leander, please just see if you can sort out your sound and then we'll come back to you when we go through the first round of hands. Van Heerden, go ahead, sir.
Okay. With me, Africanism is all well and fine, but I think there are times where people cross the line and they go overboard. And as Christians, we have to be careful that we do it in a certain way that would not embarrass us in the world. I'll give an example. I think it was last week when Julius Malema said the president was a B word and there's nothing anyone can do. Imagine if we had been called to that, what is it called, protest, and we're standing there and he's saying those words and we are jumping there and saying, yes, the president is the B word. It would put a bad light on the rest of us. So at times we have to be careful with the thoughts that we entertain pertaining to Africanism, especially if they call for killing of people and maiming of people and the like. But it is good to realize that where we're coming from, it was bad. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Van Heerden. Clement, you're up next. Please unmute yourself. I've unmuted you from my side. Clement, after Clement Liend, I'm going to be coming back to you as well to see if your sound is better.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am with my friend Kumbuzo here. He will also come after me if that will be okay with you, my honorable host.
That is okay, Clement.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to thank Mr. Cain. You know, Mr. Cain is a very good friend of mine on Facebook, though sometimes we bite each other's heads. But anyway, I think the presentation was very balanced in terms of giving us, even though it was brief, but we do understand that we do have a very rich history as Black people. There are people that we can look at in the past that have immensely contributed to the civilization and to other great inventions of our time that are, you know, of the same race as me. So I've got something to be proud of as a Black person. Maybe if I can just add one or two things on what, maybe on a few people that he, you know, talked about that have done great things. You know, one of the best and probably the person that invented more than any other inventor, Elijah McCoy. You know, I'm sure most of you are familiar with the phrase umakoya, umakoya, and like it came from the fact that each and every time that there was a new invention, people would automatically assume that it was his. So people would say, "Is that a McCoy?" The phrase with umakoya. That was a Black person. And so we can look at that and then build on that to say, then there is nothing wrong with my skin because I have people like me who have done great. You know, I think that is very powerful. Last thing that I would say is that I think where the problem is that, let me put it like this. You cannot oppress a person that is already below you. It's like, how do I put this? Okay. So unengane zakhe lapha ekhaya, he's got his own kids, right? Now his daughter is not of equal stature as him in the family. There is no reason that he should oppress a child who is already below him. The idea is you want to oppress someone because you want to bring them from a higher level to a level underneath you. That is what the idea of oppression is. And that went as far as erasing that part of our history that would make us be proud of ourselves. And now, where I think we disagree with a lot of people is then with how do we undo that? How then do we take off this oppression hat that was put on us? That is when then now it becomes more of a political issue. But besides the politics, I think that each and every Black person should be proud that there is a lot of our ancestors that contributed to what the world is now, and we can have confidence in that. I think that's my 2 cents that I would like to add.
Thank you. Kumbuzo?
Thank you for the presentation, Babu Ndumiso. Now, Babu K. Well, I'd like to say with him, you see, the sins that you are failing to overcome now, it is because you don't know where you come from. Okay. Now, if you know your history, you'll be able to know how to deal with those things. Like most of the Black cultures, our fathers had 5 women, which was normal to them, you know. And some of us, we come from a family where my father had children from different women that he did not marry. Now that I'm a Christian, and then I'm struggling to have one wife, and then I'll look at that from a European understanding, or maybe from just a biblical understanding that you must not commit adultery. And then if I look at it from that point, I'll never conquer that. But if I look at it from the point of,
part of your history.
now from the past of my history, I'll be able to trace it back and see how I can do it. Like you mentioned about diabetes as well. It's something that runs through you, you know. So through the family blood. So it's very important what you just presented, that like we are supposed to understand our history. That helps us to understand ourselves. Now that I know that you are married, Mr. Cain, in order for you to understand your wife, you must understand yourself first. And to understand yourself, you must understand your history.
Amen.
You know,
powerful.
So that also helps you to understand even how to relate to God. You see, because most of this oppression that is coming in our church, it makes us to think what is black, it's demonic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I even saw people they are saying they are disturbed by my head. You know, this is me, this is us. You know, so like I relate to other people the way I'm dressing. You see, so if you think what is black is demonic, then you are very far from understanding who you are, and that will also hinder you from understanding Christianity itself. Thank you.
Powerful stuff coming through there from Van Heerden, Clement, as well as Uskumbuzo. Clement, we see you there giving the support to Uskumbuzo. Before I hand over to Ulienda, Clement, there is a question for you there on Facebook on your comment. It's coming from Ukukule Tunyoni, and he says that, Clement, are you then suggesting that blacks are superior to whites? We'll come back on that if you want to respond to that at a later stage. But there, Ukuk is asking you, Clement, are you suggesting that blacks are superior to whites? Leander.
I just wanted to add some thoughts to the discussion. Guys, I'm still struggling, but I'll push through either way. I wanted to add some thoughts to the discussion from, let's draw from Genesis 1:26 and 27, né? Where we learn that God said, let us make man in our image. Né? And then he said, according to our likeness. And he gives them a mandate, and he said, you are to rule over the fish of the seas, the birds, you know, you are to rule the skies, the cattle, and everything that creeps on the earth. And so he creates man in his own image. In the image of himself, he creates man. Male and female, he creates us. Now, when we look and we interrogate this text, and we try and find the root word for image there, we find Uguti, if we trace it back to Hebrew or Greek,
Leander, are you still there? Is it that?
Yeah, it's actually deafening. It's actually deafening. But let me push. I need to make my comment. No?
Are you using earphones or what?
Yeah, I'm using earpieces.
Maybe try and take them off because tonight everything is fine on our side. So it might be that it's your earpieces. So try take them out and continue. Let's hear.
No, I mean, it's not compatible with e-mic. It doesn't have a built-in mic.
Oh, okay. All right. That's key. All right.
Let me push the comment. But you can hear me though, no?
Loud and clear. There's no problem.
Okay, cool. So image, the image is, when we Hebrew origins, it says we find the word meaning, the term is telem. Ne? And what telem means essentially is shadow. Ne? So now, the shadow element of it, what that basically in layman's term, it means that you are created to be a shadow of God. So you are made in his image. When he sits, you as a shadow, your job is to sit. When he decides I'm moving, you as a shadow is to follow this main objective that is moving. So where I'm going with this is that our thoughts and our discoveries and everything that we do has to reflect the main object, and which is God, because we are made in his image. And what are we? We are his shadow. So this is also exemplified when Adam starts to think. I mean, think God and his have high level capacity minded. When he created Adam, he created a perfect being. And and Adam decides, let's say maybe he had created him, and then Adam in his elevated mindset, high intellectual capacity, as he's walking around looking at the earth, and then he decides, okay, you know what? That will be a cow. That will be an elephant. That will be a giraffe. Now, as Adam thinks, God is like, okay, since, well, you and I are one, we are in cohesion, we are in agreement. Now, since, well, you thought that, you and I agree that, okay, since, well, you termed it a cow, it's going to be a cow. So this illustrates the unity, the uniformity of thinking between God and Adam as a created being. And mind you, you and I have inherited in that. But unfortunately, as we go on, now in chapter 3, then we are introduced to the fall. Now, when the fall happens, there's disobedience, and now there is disunity, there's discord between what Adam would say is and what God would agree to, because now they are no longer in one accord. There's disobedience involved. So if Adam was to continue saying, I will call this a cat, it's no longer about an elevated thinking in unison with God where he is. It's out of, maybe I would be saying, he is a God unto himself, if you like. Because I'm calling a cat, né? But it's not necessarily about being in unity with God. It's about, I'm saying it's a cat because I say so. So there's an element of because there's disunity, there's what we call disobedience. Adam has taken God unto himself. He has made a God unto himself. So where I'm going with this is that us as Africans, regrettably, as the world continues to advance, we have fallen away from that high elevated state that God had initially created for humankind. Because you know what we do? We inherit, it's like stola masalela womhlaba. In Africa, if there are any developments in the world, we are always going to get it secondhand somehow. And something needs to be addressed in terms of why is that the case? Why is it that as Africans, ngathi thina asikwazi ukucabanga? And the answer is simple in my view. What I think is that what Africans did is that they created too many gods unto themselves. That created a disunity between when God said, you are my image. When I'm moving, you are moving. Because you are my shadow. When I'm sitting, you are sitting. I want us to interrogate that disunity between the relationship between God and us as Africans. It has caused this divide that is in between, such that we are always being people who come. That explains why we are where we are now. That's my view. So I wanted us to just look into, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I want to raise it until we go back, to be God's Tselem, until we go back to be his shadow, until we go back to reflect his actions. When we move as he moves, when we stop as he stops, we are going to continue to degrade from the initial state that God had created human beings to be, and we are going to degrade to a lower state. Those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Leander. Powerful there. Telem Shadow taking us through the theology class. There is Sharon coming through on Facebook, and she says, what are we going to do about the fact that the history that our children are doing at school currently does not include our positive history and even the positive present, because media tends to explode the negative? Let me also invoke further thought on the spiritual side of things. Understanding, and Ndumiso gave it to us pretty well, Black excellence. How does that affect our understanding of spiritual things, where you are always a consumer and you're always a consumer? Is it at all possible? Because when you talk about Black excellence from a spiritual point of view, it's an issue of saying, can God speak through Black people? can God make a difference through black people? Well, and I think that's essentially it. Can God make any difference, or can he make wonders or do anything through black people, or is it completely impossible? We come from a dispensation where we're told that black people are only, and the quotation that he read earlier on from the Rockefeller chap, J.D. Rockefeller, where he says that he does not want thinkers. He wants workers. He does not want a nation that is full of thinkers. He wants a nation that is pegged with workers. And that's what it's always been. We've been taught that black people can never understand or interpret or deal with abstract phenomena. Our work is to deal with technical things. That's why they push us to be artisans. They push us to do handiwork, to be carpenters and so forth. But the moment that you need to utilize your brain, then you're told, no, that is too abstract. A black person, their mind has not been tuned to deal with abstract theories. Essentially, what that means is a black man cannot think. A black man cannot express any qualified opinion. And when we go deeper into this, it goes to the point where you ask yourself that, can God speak through me? Can I ever understand Daniel and Revelation without getting an explanation from Stephen Bohr? Or for instance, whatever Stephen Bohr is presenting, is it possible for Leander to wake up in the morning and say, Unkulunkulu has revealed this to me? Because when you speak Daniel and Revelation, you're speaking in the abstract, you're dealing with deep things. So even when it comes to issues of spirituality, and there Brother Cain is showing us that black excellence, and he's shown us from the practical side of things, making it in the world, making it in our different areas of focus and so forth. But I want us to say, as we're commenting as well, let's bring it closer home. This is a church platform. We Seventh-day Adventists, we are here. How far does it go that failing to understand your black history, removing that excellence from being black, how can it affect you spiritually from the perspective of just being a consumer? I'm looking forward to getting people talking about it. Let's respect each other's opinions. Let's express our views on this. God wants us to. That's why we've got this platform. Nobody's going to be judged for whatever views. Where we do go astray, let's pull each other back home. Senzo, I've unmuted you, sir. Please go for it. Unmute yourself and say something. Okay, Senzo is fallen off. Okay, I'm gonna skip Senzo. We'll come back to you. Sandra, I'm unmuting you. Yeah. Sandra, please unmute yourself and say something.
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I wanted to say the importance of knowing our black history. I think to a certain extent it's empowerment, right? To a certain extent it's empowerment, because we have been made to feel inferior as black people. And let's start here. Jesus was we have this image.
Say it. Say it, my sister.
Can you please mute yourself, Melissa?
Fine, Melissa is gone. You can continue, Sandra.
Okay. So I was saying, let's start here. Jesus is shown as a white man, right? And it's recently been discovered that there are paintings of Jesus, like the description that Jesus Revelation, hair as wool, right? And the feet, golden feet. Or was it brass? I can't remember. But still, it still doesn't show what Jesus was white at any point in time. And I don't know why somebody would change that and try and depict Jesus as a white person. I don't know if it is because being white is seen as being superior, or if it's a white Jesus, then he's more relatable, or we can agree to whatever is said by Jesus because he is white. I don't know. And okay, let's start here. Vele depicting Jesus as a white person is wrong to begin with, because it's a lie. If he's not white, then he's not white. And then The other thing is dressing, right? Because I think, Mina, as Adventist, Christianity is very westernized, I think, because in church, right, what is seen as formal, what is seen as a proper way of dressing is umfundisi mayemele hambe ayoma phambili, they have to wear a suit. I don't know, is it because being modest is wearing a suit? I think, Mina, modesty is having to cover up like the private parts that we don't want to see. And so that affects our Christianity, because dressing is also a huge part of us as Christians, because we know that we're supposed to dress modestly, we're supposed to cover up everything. But is wearing a suit being modest? I don't know, I don't know, is wearing a suit being modest? What is modesty? Um, why can't we wear like your traditional, your dashiki, uhambe uyokuma phambili as a pastor and preach and be taken seriously, right? So learning our African history and being proud of ourselves as Africans, our tradition, our ways of dressing. I think also with music, I think our music, I think if it's, I remember I couldn't relate to Reality 7 at some point, because I was like, what's this? Like, what's going on now? Like, so much disorder. But then I realized, no, man, there is nothing wrong with this. This is how we as Africans are, right? So we've been taught, uh, 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 wearing a suit, singing like slow, orderly music, I can say, without like African sound is what is seen as the standard and what is right. So I think it's good to know our history as Black people and have pride and take pride in that, and try to unlearn some of these things that we see as modest, as African people. Yeah, there's a lot that I wanted to say, but I think so. But yeah, I think I'm good.
Thank you so much, Sandra, for that. Happy Sabbath, everyone. I'm so sorry I interrupted you there. I was so excited when you brought that point across, because it's a burning issue in my heart. Anyways, I'll take us through the comments. Kate Lamini says, Pharaoh said, let's enslave them, lest they grow and overcome us. Oppression is always motivated by fear of the victims. Even so, constantly hunted David, trying to exterminate him because he was afraid of him. He lived in constant fear of him. And then Ben Glad says, so if all that our history is known and we understand that was taken from the African child, how does it help me being a Christian that has to love everybody? For in as much as even the white man has to come to the table, it is still his choice if he wants to. But how does it help me today if he will ever accept it? I don't understand Black consciousness, for it is as if it's suddenly people have finally discovered themselves. And then I think I'll read the last comment so that it doesn't become overwhelming. So much from Huawei P30, so much important to know your immediate history. Most African children, they don't know much beyond Shaka or Mzilikazi, which makes it possible for us to discriminate each other. Most of the language in Southern Africa, they are directly linked to Swahili. Then you are an African child calling his fellow brother Ingongongo. All right, I think Cain, you can come in there and maybe give some of the questions, your thoughts and the comments as well.
Okay, so you've asked a lot of things. Let's start with the lady that asked about history being taught in schools. I think there's someone that asked something like that. What makes us, I've already talked about our consumerism, our love for consuming. Why don't they teach us history of our people? Why don't they allow us to wear clothes? Why don't they allow a preacher to do this? Why don't they? Because we have conditioned ourselves to be consumers, which is not our own making. It's a condition of slavery and colonization, so that we depend. Those that are interested in this whole thing, look up a letter that was written by Willie Lynch. That he emphasizes the idea of teach the horse to eat from your hand. Don't allow it to use its natural instincts to go and find food. Teach it to eat from your hand. That way you control its diet, and that way you control its strength, because you determine at what time it's going to eat and at what time it's not going to eat. So the idea of us coming in today and we are saying, why don't they teach us, is we are assuming that someone must stand up and start writing African history the way that we want it written and teach it the way that we want it taught, because we have not taken the prerogative to know that it is our responsibility to teach our children. I think it's Exodus, or it's Deuteronomy, one of the whether it's Leviticus. Moses says, teach these things to your children as they walk in and as they walk out, as you sit down and as you stand up. It's your responsibility to teach. So we took that and we actually delegated it to the schools. We've delegated the raising of children to schools, and then we blame schools. Remember, the person that designs the schooling system has a plan, and the plan is not yours, it's his. So he designs the schooling system for a desired result that he wants. So if you see that the schooling system does not bring in a desired result, the Department of Education is always announcing, is there anyone who's got a book? Is there anyone who's got a new theory on how to do things? Right now, there's a cry for a decolonialized education. Are we participating in it, or we are waiting for someone to come up with something so that we can critique it? I'm actually, I've always enjoyed also to being an armchair analyst, until I realized that, you know, everyone in the stadium that is sitting on the pews thinks they can do better than Messi when he's inside the field. So it's time as young people that we enter into the playing field. We begin to write history the way that we want it known, and the way that we want it heard to our children, so that when it's being taught, it's taught in a way that we understand. It's taught in a way that presents us the way that we want to be presented. The next one was I think it was Sandra, who was talking about the Christianity and all these things. I think Ashley did a disservice. He gave me the wrong topic, because I see people are not interested much on the greatness of Black people in the past. People are interested in the Blackness of us and Christianity. So maybe we could have discussed that than going to why Black history matters. I thought people wanted a lesson on history, but if you want to go there, then you must be willing to go deeper and ask deeper questions. Oleander asked, he was talking about creation. See, there is always one vague question or one vague thing about creation. After God had created Adam and he placed him in the garden, what race was he? We don't want to answer that. We want to go to the philosophy of his creation. We want to go in all these things, but the simplest question is, and then this shadow, what race was it? When he had created it and placed him in the garden, what race was it? We shy away from going that deep. We shy away from answering Sandra when she's asking, so was Jesus? Definitely was not white, so what was he? I see someone saying that the Jews in Egypt and the Jews in the Middle East, but that's why history comes in. The movement of people, are you aware of the movement of people? Are you aware of the migrations that happens during wars? It's just like me right now saying the people that inherit, or that people that stay in Western Cape are white. So after 10, 20 or 60 years, you come back and say South Africa was a European nation because in the southern tip of Africa, in Cape Town, lived white people. That would show that you have a low appreciation of history and how people are moved from their indigenous homes. So we can probably answer later if Jesus was white, Arab, or Black by the same question that Sheikh Anta Diop was asking: are the Egyptians Black? So if the Egyptians are Black, how do you hide a white boy amongst Black people? And you are actually insulting Herod. That Herod was looking for a white boy, and the white boy was hiding amongst blacks in Egypt, and they couldn't see him, and no one could actually rat out or snitch and say, there's a white boy running around in Egypt. Jesus was hidden amongst blacks. And if you also look at Moses, if the Hebrews were anything different from the Egyptians, how did Moses manage to grow in the Pharaoh of in the house of Pharaoh for 40 years without Pharaoh seeing that but this boy is. So it's actually an insult on Africa to say even an African king, which is Pharaoh, could not see that there is a Hebrew amongst himself. Because Hebrews and Africans, there's nothing different with them. It's just an issue of just saying this one is Hebrew and this one is again. That's why Moses could survive. If you go to when Moses leaves and goes to Midian, those that want to fact check me, when he gets to Midian, when he gets there, the girls, when they're telling their father, they don't say a Hebrew man helped us. They say an Egyptian helped us. So how is it possible that Moses being Hebrew, why is he being mistaken for an Egyptian? Because that would mean that him and the Egyptians were just the same people. What was the last one? How does it help me as a Christian? How does it help me as a Christian? Identity is actually, they say I'm not for the idea of wearing Christianity as a jacket that you wear on Saturday and you take off during the week and you want to be something else that you are not. Our history teaches us that as Africans, we're coming from a system that was not schizophrenic, a system that did not have demarcations of religion, politics, business, whatever. All our systems were governed by one thing. If it was Ubuntu that governed everything. There was nothing like, I'm going to be Christian today, I'm going to be this tomorrow, I'm going to be that, I'm going to be that. So if your blackness cannot be accepted into Christianity, so you need to modify yourself for Christianity to accept you. That's where the problems begin. Because Revelation at the end of it all, it says, and then I saw many of them coming in from many kindred nations, tongues. And they are all, I mean, God is an artist. If he really wanted us to be just one thing, he would have created us as one thing. But he created us so diversely and so differently. And when we come to him, he wants us to come to him just like that, the way that he created us as different. But the westernization of Christianity is part of the greater scheme of colonization. You can't colonize a people or enslave a people and leave one part uncolonized. You can't colonize a people and leave their God free. You have to take away their ability to approach their God in their purest sense. Remember, when you are approaching your God in an African sense, the white man does not hear what you are saying. You're jumping around, playing harps, and you're playing. He does not know what spirit you're invoking, because he wants to be in a position where he controls the situation. So now that you are getting into a point where he does not know what to do, so the best way is to demonize what you are doing. If it demonizes what you're doing, so the first thing that it does, it changes your names. Those that are old enough would understand that people that were given English names from our parents' side, those were actually not called English names, they were called Christian names. Because they didn't want this thing. Ndumiso, what does Ndumiso mean? So the white man did not want that because it does not understand what it invokes. If your surname is Zulu, Shaka Zulu, and he knows that you remembering Shaka Zulu is dangerous for him, so he needed to give you an English that is called a Christian name, so you'll be called Peter. And this is why most of our parents are called John. John and Johnny, because the white man needed to be in control of the situation. So if you look also through slavery, you would find those that are interested, look into American slavery. There are documents that says the baptism into Christianity does not free you from slavery, meaning racism was above the Christianity that you are fighting for. So even if you are baptized in church and then we say you are now free, you are now a born again person, racism and slavery will still be above you, and say, but at the end of the day, the master is still in charge. So the westernized Christianity is part of the grand scheme of oppression. You can't live that part because it's vital to an African. An African has always been a worshiping person. So if you tell him that all that he's been worshiping is demonic, this is how we worship. So now when God wants to speak to me, who does he consult first? Does he go to the church board and say, I would like to speak to Ndumiso? Would you allow me? Is there a protocol that must be followed? Remember, this thing must have order. And God wants to visit me at night. Who do I tell that I had a dream? Because the system has put it in such a way that you have to consult. If this has not been written, like you were saying, that if this was not the interpretation of Paul, then it's not an interpretation. Academically also, if you want to get your PhD, you need to quote some recognized scholars. Who recognizes the scholars? It's the white man. So if the white man is the white institutions, if they've recognized those scholars, so if you quote them, you sound like you are wise. But if I tell you that it sounds ridiculous because there's the white man who has actually said that. So even when it comes to Christianity and the issues of faith, we want to have a religion that is handed down to us from a Eurocentric understanding. If it comes from an African perspective, I mean, right now you are scared of dreams that you would see black people in them. You probably think if you dream and you see a black person talking to you, you would actually automatically, but you're definitely confident that if you see a white person in your dream, that definitely must be an angel. Then you can go around and say, I had a dream yesterday. This. So all those things are part of servitude. Brian talked about what Pharaoh was scared that these people are going to rise above me. So this is the idea why I need to actually oppress them. Conquest has probably been one of the reality of life ever since we entered here on earth. Conquest is the reality. We conquer, we get conquered. So if you conquer, you don't leave. Like I said before, you don't leave something else free. If you are going to conquer, you have to demonize everything. You cannot leave people being conquered and you let them to worship their God, because that might inspire them to rise against you. So if you want them to be in servitude for life, you give them the idea that even God himself, when he wants to speak to you, he must come through me. So you actually dumb down the voice of God because it does not subscribe to what you've been taught as organized religion. Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Cain. There's a myriad of hands that are up there. So what I'll do is that we hardly do this, but I'm gonna have to do it today. I'm not gonna deal with them in their order of appearance, but we're gonna start with the voices that are usually silent, and then we'll get to our normal preachers. So we're going to start with Sugoluhle. Sugoluhle's iPhone. Please unmute yourself and speak to us. Let's be very brief and straight to the point so that we can cover each and every person. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hello, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. My contribution, my worry is mainly on the fact that history records people who own things, if you understand what I mean. I work for a company. If I invent something in that company, I think it is bad for me to think that I can get ownership of what I've done. Actually, the boss and everyone is the one who actually get the history of whatever comes out of that. I think that has been the case with what Ken has been speaking about. To say that there was a slave, was under somebody, so the invention was the slave's thing. So the question that I have is, history is actually being created right away. And as it is being created, whatever, I remember there was a guy who was fighting a case, I think it was Vodacom for WhatsApp. I think for please call me. Because that person was under a company, it makes it difficult to claim invention or ownership for the things that we have. And hence the history will always get, because most of our things are under somebody, they're not ours. We do a lot of great stuff. If I go and work under Ford and I invent something under Ford, I have signed a contract. So whatever I have invented, it belongs to Ford. For me to claim for it, yes, we will hear. That's why there's a lot of claim. There's a lot of fights about who was it that invented this, who was it that did these things, and who was it that created or who has done something. The problem that we have, probably to correct history, would be for Black people to start owning things, to start showing that we can do something. Because I think the whole thing, I believe, I do not understand the whole thing about Black consciousness, but I believe they're trying to say to us, we are not as inferior as we think. Because if you look at us, most of us who when we are in companies and there are white people around us, we tend to look down on ourselves. We have a lot of great potential. We have a lot of things. We have a lot of things that we can contribute. Some of the things that are never contributed because of the way we think about the Black people, that no Black person has ever done it. Who am I? I have met the most dumbest white people in the world. So have I met the Black people also. So the issue of being intelligent or being dumb has nothing to do with whether you're Black or white. There's somebody who thinks when he looks at a white person, he thinks they are all inventors. They are not. Not all Black people cannot invent. So we need to find within ourselves what we can do, what each and individual can do. But do you know the problem that we have as Black people is nobody gets to experience who they are, because we think we should just go look for that small job and stay there. We can't even raise our hands even if we have a thought in our mind, because the history has told us that we are dumb and we are Black. But the issue of being dumb, issue of being Black, issue of being intelligent, it has to do with individuals, not color, not race. And I think that's where the Cain and whoever is looking at this to say, when I look at my son, I need him to understand that if he can do anything, it's not because he's Black that then he can't do anything. And that has been our biggest problem, and I think we need to fix that. My other contribution is I know it is difficult to dig deep into history, because we are trying to find stories of people who are no longer there, and hence it's not as clear as possible. But right now, do you know that in 50 years history is going to be written about what happened in 2020? History is going to be bad. Nobody cares about looking for cure for corona because you're Black. You just need to go to conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But if we take it into our minds that we are just as human, not greater than white people, not less, but just as human as white people. We're not less than white people. The brains of a Black person, the brains of a white person, the brains of an Asian, a brains of is the same. If you work your brains enough, you can you can achieve as much as you can. That's the reason why you find in medical, on the films that they show you, that there are a lot of people who struggle to get their invention mentioned because they were Black. True, that's what history does. That's what Cain is addressing. That there are a lot of inventors where they even failed to get recognition, but some along the line they got it. I'll look for the other films that they mention about that. But there's a lot of things that have happened that are like that. So the whole point is, we are not inferior than white people. I don't believe we are. They are dumb Black people, there are also dumb white people. There are intelligent white people. To say the white people have not invented anything would be a lie. To say the black people have not invented anything would be the greatest lie. Maybe that's what Cain is addressing. We also have people who have stepped out, who have done things. And the greatest thing that we can correct, the greatest way we can correct history, to my point of view, is that we start having something that we can, that we honor, so that we can say, if you come in my company and you get an invention, to be honest with you, the person who's going to get the name for the invention is me. It's not you, because that's my company. It's the father who invented it. I don't know what you are doing, but when it comes to presenting, when it comes to television, when there are televisions that are going to come at my company, it's me who have done that. I'm not going to put you up as a person who has done it, because you're working under me. And I think that's the contribution that I have.
Beautiful there. Not greater, not lesser. Thank you so much for the comment. Chichi, please take us through. Let us be as short as we can. The hands are a lot. You guys can see that if you look at participants, so many hands. Chichi?
Thanks, Ashley. The gentleman before me has addressed most of the things I wanted to say, but just to add, it really makes me happy. I haven't experienced most of the things people have experienced. Being in Malawi, I was born after white people were long gone and things like that. But then still being in the industry and working, there was a time I wrote a paper. I wanted to present it, but then a white person stole it from me. And it was a professor. I got angry and then I started laughing, because eventually I was like, and I thought this person is someone who is great. But then growing up and learning so many other things as I grew up in the professional industry, I've realized that hating a white person because they take us as an inferior race will not help me with my relationship with God and with the way I want to go to heaven. So I try not to hate them. I like he said, I've met people who are white but dumb, and they think they are really wise because they're amongst Black people. And they talk, you listen, but then you just let them talk, or otherwise you dispute whatever it is they're saying. Because once you learn that you are also a special person, there's no way anyone, Black or white, can come to you and say that you are anything less. On issues of how we can sorry, I've waited so long. I have forgotten some of the things I wanted to point out. So let me stop there for now. And when I remember, I guess I'll try to come back. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll definitely still be on. Beta Bay?
Oh, Maranatha. Okay, what I wanted to say is, number one, I think we forget that when a conqueror comes to conquer, he plans. Guys, let us not forget that whether they were missionaries or whatever who were in there, the missionaries came together with the conquerors, meaning they planned. There was psychology, there was everything that was put in place with that. So I don't understand people who say that, why is it people are allowed to be conquered or colonized? You need to understand there was planning in there. That's my number one. Number two, the issue of knowing our history is very important, because number one, I need to know that when I was created, God breathed his life in me, making sure that a part of him is put in me, so that whatever that may come in the world cannot move me, because I already know where I belong, right? And that being said, things like, for instance, if you look at the King James Bible, the people who interpreted it, the King James, he was not a good person, number one. Number two, he had a shady history, and yet he's one of the people that were there interpreting the Bible. And how am I supposed to be, if I don't know my history, how am I supposed to trust the Bible, that these people who are giving me the Bible, they didn't infiltrate the Bible with whatever information they wanted to feed me so that I believe on it? That's my other focus, but then it's fine. So what I can just say right now is that there's so much information, new information, and there's so much that we are discovering, and almost everyone is confused. And even when you hear people speak, you can hear that no, that is the voice of Richard Gregory, that is the voice of whoever that is speaking, because people are being told information by different forces, and many of the people, they're not even going to go and check the information themselves. But we should not focus on what slavery did or whatever colonization did to destroy us, but let us focus on the benefits. Like, at least now we know Christ. I don't know if it was in God's plan that with the history that I know right now, that we were a moral being. Like in Africa, we didn't have the Bible, but we were very moral and civilized in our way of living. Of course, yes, we were barbaric in other aspects of living, but I don't know if we're going to know Jesus Christ and we're going to know that he's the one that is going to save us and stuff, if it wasn't for the Bible that came to us. So now that we know that, can we just move on to us stopping being consumers and being producers? Because that is the only way that we are going to lift off this yoke that is on us right now. Thank you.
Bertha, thank you so much for that comment, and all the other guys that have commented. Unfortunately, Ndumiso has to leave us now. So I'm going to hand it over to him. Firstly, to just say thank you, and I'm saying this on behalf of the organizers as well, to saying thank you so much, Ndumiso, for taking your time to come out and have this discussion with us. We do note that I think we've just started scratching the surface. We really haven't gone deep into some of these subjects, but yeah, I take it that we are getting people thinking about these things. Ndumiso, I'd imagine you're going to tell us. I know you sent me your presentation, your PowerPoint presentation. As you give your concluding remarks, just let me know if I can share those with anyone that might be interested. Yeah, so Ndumiso, over to you for your closing remarks, sir. The conversation continues even after he's gone, like we often do. We'll still continue chatting about these things. Cain?
Okay, thank you very much again for involving me in this process. And maybe let me, yeah, you can share the slides. It's not my intellectual property. It's stuff that I also just picked up. But maybe mostly what Mngwaya was saying is what I had said, so I wouldn't say much about him. And then the lady from Malawi that got her ideas stolen, it's probably one of the things that I'll mix the two ladies that followed each other. They were raising very much interesting points, and I saw there on the comments that people should stop thinking that there is a separation between colonization and the missionaries. Remember, this is like the lady is saying, it's a well thought out process. So there's nothing that is left to chance. Nothing was left to chance, and the Bible was actually weaponized. So we received a weaponized Bible. To this day, this is why, of all the books that you read, probably the Bible is the only book that has a mystery about the people in the Bible. No one tells you what race they were, because what we received was a weaponized version of the Bible. This is why we actually, there was an emphasis on slaves, obey your master. When someone hits you, turn the right cheek. So that emphasis was there to make sure that the colonizer remains on top of you. He has the prerogative to do whatever that he wants to do, and then he turns back and says, but the Bible says, turn the right cheek, turn the other cheek. Do this. They would never tell you about the vengefulness of Samson. They'll never tell you that Samson went and he killed Philistines. They would never emphasize to you that Moses stood up and he killed the oppressor. They would never emphasize all those things. They want to pacify you with verses that says, love each other. I mean, the Bible says God loves us, and it still says, those that I love, I chastise. So there is no point at any point in life where when you chastise people, it's because you do not love them. You do it out of love. We need to understand that some people need a beating, not because you hate them, but you beat them out of love. So even when it comes to, there's a comment that's been trending here, that the issue of superiority, that are we saying now that we are superior? This is why you see the level of colonization. The highest level of colonization is to convince you that everything else must be measured towards whiteness. This is why you're saying you are a human as white people are. We are equal as white people are. We need to understand that there is an issue of equality, equity, and then there's retribution. Black people don't want to talk about retribution. They only want to talk about equality. Okay, it's fine. So now, how do we go back? Okay, let's sing Kumbaya and continue. No. If you buy your child a bicycle and you send them to school, and a bully takes that bicycle, and the bully now is keeping the bicycle, and the child is telling you that a bully took away my bicycle, and you go to school, and then the bully says to you, okay, fine, let us share the bicycle. Would that be reasonable? Will that be reasonable? Or you would want to take back the bicycle and give it back to your child? This is exactly what Africa is being presented with, the idea of saying, okay, it's fine. Let us now share. Why must we share? Why must we share when that which was ours and it was taken away from us? Are we the sons of poverty that we must stay in ghettos while someone comes in and ransacks and damages our country? The lady from Malawi says she was born after Malawi. The white people had left Malawi. The white people left Malawi, but the system of white supremacy never left Malawi. Recently, they were telling the president that if it does not allow the gay rights into Malawi, they would not assist Malawi. So there's no way, there's no one who is free from white people. Whether you don't see them, some of you probably stay in places where you have not seen them in a long time. Somewhere in Zim, you keep them out of the farms and you think that they are gone. They are not gone because the system that you're still using is theirs. So they still run it. Your Christianity is still run by whiteness. Remember that the type that you're supposed to give out, the type that you're supposed to bring in is coming from the white industry. So if he controls your type, he controls how you relate to God. Many of us are unemployed. And because we are unemployed, we get involved in sin. Some of us now are old. We can't get married because that's not mad. We're not getting married because that's not Lutan. We've got so much love, but we can't make it practical because the money is in the hands of white supremacy. And white supremacy does not allow us to be self-independent. If all of us were self-independent, many of us would actually be praying prayers of thanking God. Most of us actually come to God to pray for the sins that we have committed, and all of them can be summarized into the lack of money. We can summarize your sins. If all of you were praying to me, many of you are very good people. That's why you are not married. That's why you need to give your body so that someone can pay for your fees, or someone can pay for the hairstyle. It's not that you're a bad person. The only thing, you're hungry, just want to eat. But the only way to eat, you have to prostitute yourself. The only way to eat, you have to be involved in illegal stuff. Not that we were inherently poor or inherently, just money. So if I had money, many of you, I would give you money, and many of you would actually stop praying the prayers that you go to the all-night prayers, because the system understands that without the resources. Now listen to Moses. Moses says, let my people go. And if we are going with our cattle, we are going with our women, we are going with our children, we are going with our resources, because when we praise God, our God is a God that needs resources when he's being praised. He says, I want a golden plated temple in the desert from slaves. They had to produce it. In the morning, come and offer a bullock, come and offer a sheep, come and offer this. Without all these things, worshiping God would have been possible. Even when he says, when you enter into my gates, do not come empty-handed. But now that we are living under a white supremacist situation that controls all economies, we've got nothing, and we walk into church, walking into the presence of God with nothing. And when someone says, I have a problem, we actually say, let the poor say to themselves, because we have faith. So my closing remarks, I see the lady also commented about King James. A question to the lady: would you think that the British crown would actually allow their king to be desecrated? The British would never allow that. Princess Diana was killed, and they never told us who killed her, because it's within them. The stories that are being told by King James, it's because King James was not white. This is why they tell you all these stories about King James. They would never allow a monarchy to be discussed in public because he was not white, he was discussed. In the interpretation of the Bible, he did not participate in the process. He actually sponsored the process. So he gathered up scholars and says, translate the Bible, and he paid for everything. He said, okay, and then at the end, then he put his signature as the king. Bible. Okay. And then on the other things, Ezekiel guys made a mistake giving me a wrong topic. Otherwise, we would have been discussing our blackness and Christianity. I thought I came in to discuss just black history. So I've given you and that is it. Thank you very much for allowing me to be in your platform, and may the good Lord bless you, and may He continue to bless this platform, and may you continue to shine light in every corner that you are. We thank Corona for allowing some of us actually to speak where we were not allowed to speak anymore. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much, guys.
Amen. Thank you so much. I'm taking over now because I'm now the host. My prayer is that the network doesn't cut me off. Bazalwane, if it does, you can still come back to the platform. Actually, would use these other details, but I doubt it will do that. Let me give the thank you, Cain, for that. Can I just give the hands in quick succession? Very, very quick. All right, so we'll try to be as short as possible. The following people, please start talking. Nduna, I'll start with you. Nduna, I'll start with you. How are we P30 on the announcement on the chat group? You wanted to say something. Please send a message if you still want to say something, because I think many people have had their hands up for a very long time. So let's just have people commenting quickly so that everyone can have a chance to talk as a round up towards the end of our discussion, so that we can come up with why did we even learn this. Nduna, I'm unmuting you. After you, can we have Kay coming up? Then after that, I wanted to say something myself, so I'll come after Kay. Then we can have Clement, Lo Van Herden, then talking. So Nduna, Kay, me, Clement, Van Herden. Quickly, guys, let's move as quickly as possible. Nduna, I'm unmuting you. Go ahead. Nduna, unmute yourself.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes, please.
All right. I wanted to say we are surely suffering inferiority complex as blacks because of who we are and because of what we have experienced as black people. And when we go back to our history as a church now, we will hear that there was a black guy that God chose as a prophet, but that guy, because of the inferiority complex, couldn't handle the burden that was given to him because of his blackness. Secondly, as a denomination that has existed more than 108 years, to be precise, we have never had a black president. Thirdly, to be brief, as our young people wanting to get married, they want to get married using a westernized culture. They want to do, actually, we are the only culture that duplicates our wedding. We have an African wedding. The following day, we have another one called white wedding, which has been baptized into Christianity while it's a Western culture. So now we need to be freed from this slavery. We need to be emancipated. I'm not sure who said this. It must be Steve Biko. Says the greatest tool in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. We really need to be delivered. We need to win back our individuality and ourselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Nduna, for that one. I'll give to Kay right now. Kay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, thanks. I'll try and be brief as well, even though I had quite many points that I needed to express. I just want to speak on the importance of Black history. The importance of Black history. I think it is very important to understand and what is the successes of your predecessors, where you come from. I think that thing alone, the fact that you do not know, affects us in our families, because I think we as Africans, as we've been speaking, we have this concept Ubuntu, and as you will see, the more affluent we become, we lose that concept of Ubuntu. We desert anything that is Black. We desert anything that is African. Once we get the best jobs, we start getting paid better. We move to white suburbs. Not only that, we send our schools to private schools, which is not wrong, but because when they get there, they do not understand their own culture and who they are. They marry even white people because to them that's an achievement. It's arriving. Usuyafika. When you get to church, ufake a beautiful suit and you're driving your AMG, like our brother advocate to Ashley, we call you umlungu because it can only be something Western for you to have succeeded like this. So I think let's desert this mentality of thinking that in order to achieve, I must become Western. Let's build our own things. We cannot even support our own Black people. We do not have an economy of Black people. We do not buy from Black. We buy from whites, even if Black is available. You know what? I think this is very frustrating in the sense that we will continue to hold placards with the government wanting free things when we fail to use our own minds to develop systems that can accommodate us and the people who are coming after us. We go and buy in the same shops where we know that when our own people will go there looking for jobs, they will not find jobs there to earn money that we have spent in those industries. So I think we need to really sit down and begin to think, in the next 3 generations that are coming after me, what is it that I would have contributed that my grandchildren will be part of? What legacy are we building right now? Let's stop with all this trying to hide around behind Christianity and say Christ is my identity. That's all fine and beautiful, but what that is doing is simply applying any sort of medicine to a condition which you do not know. So as we as Black people, we hate ourselves. You know what? Let's first love everything that is Black and embrace ourselves as Black people, appreciate our intelligence, and take time in building our own economy patiently. Right now, we do not even know maths, algebra, whatsoever, but we're gifted with our hands. We have no land. How can you say you are a Christian and you are free and you are saying, at least I have Christ? What is Christ to do with the fact that there's someone else who is controlling your life as you live here, whilst you are focused on the delusion of a coming world? Someone else who you claim to be human, just like yourself, is controlling what you eat every day, controlling the places where you go, controlling the value of your education and how much you get paid, and you come back and say, no, it's fine. It is always all right. If Black people come right now and begin attacking white people, every other race, it is Black people who say, no, that's very much evil. You will not go to heaven, you'll go to hell. But when white people do like what is being done to Floyd, Black people, like, no, let's just pray that they understand what is happening. Let's just pray that they understand. Maybe one day they'll be converted, because we have so much pity for those who abuse us. Let me just stop here.
All right. Thank you so much, Kay. That was emotionally packed. My point was aligning with the issue of the system that oppresses us in the church context. Today in the quarterly lesson, when we're learning, I think it was on Tuesday, the statement says, only when we are honest can we face difficulties adequately. Honesty safeguards us so that we do not evade any difficulties or try to obscure them. And I think that Lungile was pointing across the idea of, so what's with this whole Black consciousness? What's the reason why we should be talking about Black history, and what link does it have within our Christianity? And what Cain was talking about was not just a once-off event, it's a system. And said as it may be on the outside of the church that the system is there, but it's sadder that the system is within the church. I think if you're not conscious of the goings on around of the church, then you wouldn't really understand why it's important for the Black man to rise up and be able to stand up on his own 2 feet and be able to look at a white man in the eye and tell them, or the system, not just a white man, but the system in the eye, and tell them that this is oppression at its best. Because our church is built on a situation whereby, and these are stories that I was on another platform there, at Andrews University, for an example. This guy was there, this Black guy, and then he was saying to us that the white people were given better marks. And I'm not talking about vets, Andrews University, one of our own universities as a Seventh-day Adventist church, they were given better marks than them. So you look at such a situation like that and wonder, how does that influence my Christianity? To show that it's a system that's up on us. We have SETCOM within our system right now, which is running the whole estate of each church, and they own everything. And we're paying for the churches, but they own them. It's not even our own churches to begin with, but we're paying for them. So if we don't pay for them, at the end of the day, they get taken away from us. So we have all the systems that come up, and we need to think about how that links with my Christianity. The idea that John 13 verse 35, I want to end my point. John 13 verse 35, they shall know you if you have love one for another. Men shall know you if you have. The church and the church, and by church I'm talking about people within the system, we bury our heads in the sand. And I think it's more than just the head. Now it's the neck and the whole half of the body right in the sand. And we pretend like these things don't even happen. And we don't look into them in the eye. And then we run away and say, no, but what does that have to do with my Christianity? What does it have to do with my Christianity? A lot. It has to do with our Christianity, a lot. Because we need to coexist within ourselves. We need to be a system that's combined. And once we're honest as to who and what is the problem, and we approach it, then as Christians, we have now a strong message to the world about how powerful God is to unite someone who wanted to oppress me and the one who was being oppressed. And now the oppressed and the oppressor are now on the same level, and they love one another. Let me give to the next person quickly. I want to give the next person, then we talk. We're about to end our session. Let me just check my phone so I can see who's supposed to come through. All right, I think it was Clement. All right, let me give Clement quickly. And then Tivani has his hand up. I'll give it to him after that because he hasn't said anything. Clement, go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Okay, I will say 2 quick points. I will try to be as quick as I can. The first point that I want to say is this. I think that there is sort of dichotomy. I mean, by that, I mean space between people that support Black consciousness and Pan-Africanism and those that look at that as sort of like something that is unchristian, something that is unnecessary, something that is irrelevant. The reason is this, okay, it's like the ideas that we hold or the perceptions which we have as people, they are our way of conceptualizing the world, okay? So in other words, it's like if I am sailing through an ocean, I have a boat under me that makes me to float in, on top of the water, okay? So if I can use that analogy, that boat is the perceptions or the ideas that I have about the world, okay? It is how I go through life. So when Mta or anyone comes and say, but thinking like that is problematic, it is like you are taking the boat underneath my feet, now I'm sinking in the ocean, then I begin to drown. That's the reason why the two, the Pan-Africanist and the one who thinks Pan-Africanist is evil, can't speak, because, you know, it is, the problem is that they are speaking at each other instead of speaking to each other. I think that we need to come down to a level where we Black people can have a conversation among each other about what is the best course that we as a people can do. The second point that I would like to say very quickly is that when Black people originally began protesting things like racism and white supremacy, the point wasn't necessarily to make a Black person equal or superior, although equality was part of it, but that wasn't the whole point. The point was that they wanted to be recognized as individuals, because there is this idea of putting people into groups to say white people are this way, Black people are that way, that you identify a person according to their group identity and not their individual competencies. And that is a problem, because then you can say all Black. Let me quickly, 1 minute, give you something that I think will make you look at this differently. Over the years, beginning in the 1980s, Black people generally score lower in IQ scores than Asians and whites. Now, there is a lot of biopsychosocial reasons why that is the case. There was one which was done whereby a Black person had the highest score, but the Black people as a group scored lower in comparison to the white people, but the one who scored the highest was a Black person. So if you look at that in terms of the group, you will say blacks scored lower, they are stupid, even though the highest one was the black person. So the point was that we need to move from from the thing of looking at ourselves and at white people as two different groups that are supposed to be at war against each other. That is not the case. That is not what we are doing. What we are trying to do is to say, if a white person is here and I am here as a black person, the person observing us should judge us individually according to our competencies, not ascribe the identities of the group upon me without knowing me personally as a person. I think that, yeah, I'm done. Kumbuza will take my last minute.
Go ahead.
All right. Masabata, you are ningama second-hand Christians. Amasabata abantu abamnyama. Here's how I am saying this thing. Uguti, we are Christians through the lenses of European understanding of the Bible. So anything that is black, it's not Christian. Now, let me give you an example. If my daughter grows up in my house with my culture, our relationship will be very close. But if my daughter is taken away from me, and then she grows up from a different culture, and then later on she'll be told that I am the father, the relationship is different. So this is what happened to blacks. They took our identity away from God. That like we are not identified with God. So that's why I even once believed that being black, it's a curse. Like there's a guy who presented the Kush story and all that like we are black because we are cursed. So in other words, our color cannot be identified with God. You see? So as a result, we think our Christianity is white. Even manje sikhuluma ngesilungu, which is European. Like we don't have our own universal language, and we don't identify God as to a black person. That is why you see now we have the fight between the Pan-Africanists talking about Jesus is black and all that. They're trying just to fill a gap that no, being a black is not a curse. We are supposed to identify God from what we are and from who we are, so that we'll be able to relate to him better. Not that we are saying Jesus is black or Jesus is white, but like Christianity, it's universal. It's for everyone. So we are supposed to look at God from our own understanding and from our own cultures, which are in line with the Bible, and also from our own skin color, so that we won't have these problems that we're having. Uguti, if you're now, I'm seeing your picture with Ashley. You're wearing suits, very beautiful suits, and that is considered a good dress code of Christianity, modest. But you are in Africa, you're wearing European. You see, so that's what I'm saying. Our Christianity is second-hand. So if somehow we'll find a way, how can we move on without identifying our Christianity to Europeans?
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you so much, Clement and Skumbuzo. I want to give to Van Heerden the suit issue. Right? Let's have Van Heerden coming through right quickly. Yes, there you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say that sometimes we as Africans want to wait around and for someone to act on our behalf. The time to act is now. We should not wait for colonizers or whoever it is to do things on our behalf. We have the power, we have the ability, and we are fully capable to do the things that we want to do. And speaking of Black excellence, that the speaker spoke about in the beginning, sometimes we hate ourselves by ourselves. So for example, if someone educates themselves, elevates, they'll say, oh, she thinks she's better, they think they're better than us. When you see another person doing well in life, we don't celebrate that person. We start calling them names. We start saying they've got a snake in their house and all those things. It's not the oppressors doing that. We do that to ourselves. And I also like us to draw inspiration from the Israelites, the Jews themselves. They were in Egypt oppressed for over 400 years, right? And then fast forward to something closer to our time. Hitler had nearly annihilated the Jews. 6 million of them were dead by the end of World War II or World War I, I get it mixed up. But then 6 million Jews were he killed 6 million Jews. But fast forward to today, guys, the Jews are thriving. Why? Why are they thriving? We should pick a leaf from that. Yes, they were oppressed. They've got a very painful past. We have a very painful past. But I think we can move and even excel beyond what those who wanted to destroy us tried to do. Let's not just wallow and say, oh, we were oppressed and sit there. Let's go and conquer, because we have now Black leaders. We have got now people who are leading us who look like us. Let us use the opportunities that have been afforded to us to move forward. And then lastly, I'm just going to say that I find that there's a danger where we want to throw away the baby with the bathwater, okay? We do say, okay, the colonizers might have come with the Bible. Some people take it as far as, let's throw away the Bible because this Bible was brought by somebody else. It's just like saying, if there's a doctor who practices malpractice and kills patients, do we throw away that doctor's philosophy, or do we throw away the whole entire medical fraternity? So sometimes I find that a lot of people cannot separate the baby and the bathwater. It's like we have to throw away everything. And with that, I don't agree. That's what I've got to say.
Thank you so much for Hayden for that one. Beautiful. Can we have Senzo as the last one? Then we close our session. I think it's been quite something that has been helpful and all that. Senzo, while you speak, I'll just post what's going to be happening next week, just in case we're ending out towards the end. Senzo, I'm going to unmute you now quickly. Van Hayden, thank you so much. Clement and Skumbuzo, thank you so much. Everyone who's commented, thank you so much. Sorry, let me just, I'm unmuting the wrong person. Van Hayden, please, I unmuted you. Can you just mute yourself? Senzo, there you go.
Yeah, Nyandiv.
Yeah.
Nyandiv, oh, must touch language, okay? But I'll speak in English for the sake of others. You know what I want to say is that this whole thing, colonialism and Africanism, and it's actually, it's not happening. This thing we're trying to do to liberate ourselves from whatever has happened, we call it colonialism. I don't see it happening, because firstly, if you look at the whole world, the world is working on a universal mechanism, one mechanism. Understand? So you can't say now when I'm dressed up in a suit, I'm colonized, whereas someone in China is wearing the same suit and is not colonized, or whereas someone in India is wearing the same suit but is not colonized. But now when there's African wears a suit, he's now colonized. Like, I don't understand. You know, those kind of things. I mean, I want us to separate the dynamics of development and dynamics of colonialism. Separate those two. Don't mix them together. Because now, if you argue about clothes, I mean, I see clothes as a development. I see cars as a development. I don't see them as colonialism. I see them as a development. Now, we can't be saying that, no, Tina, we as Africans, we are supposed to be dressed up in our skins and everything. Wear your skins and see if you want to be cold. You understand? But because clothes are it's a developed way, it's a new development. But colonialism now is an ideology that sets out to say that black cultures and whatnot, like certain black cultures are demonic and whatnot. Although then it starts from there when a black person starts to think that a white person is actually better than him, you know, which is not the case. You know, God created us in a state that whereby we'll work together as a human race. You understand? Work together as a human race. We come together and make ideas. But the devil, because he hates us, he came in between us and split us up and caused us to fight each other. As a result, we now hate each other. We don't reflect God's character. All we're spending years in studies in studying to counteract another person's ideas, white person's ideas, and them they are counteracting the black person's ideas. So it's just a mess. It's just a mess. I don't know when I'm ever gonna get out of it. But as we are busy doing that, Christ is still coming. Agajig is still coming, and I hope that when it comes, we would have been done with our fights and got time to prepare characters for heaven. But when it comes, He will receive us.
All right. Thank you so much, Senzo, for that one. I think that will be the closing remarks of our session. What is important then at the end of the day, Ashley, I've just made you the host. Ne? Ashley, I've just made you the host. Please start screen sharing because I want you to do every screen sharing. I don't have all the pictures with me now and I'm using my phone. Can you please start screen sharing everything?
I'm also like using my phone now and I don't have all of them, but yeah.
Okay,
it is what
okay.
it is.
All right, it sounds like you're in transit. It's fine. Make me the host. It's fine. Make me the host. It's okay. All right. So those are our closing remarks right there. Want to thank everyone for coming through the platform. I think before we close, we need to have a word of prayer. I think the comments that have been put through will give us time to think about the importance of Black history and also to align ourselves with what decisions should we make. Ellen White says in the book Education, we have a power akin to the Creator, a power to think and to do. And I read a statement that says that each man must decide, each man and woman must decide for him or herself in which direction he will take. And that's important. We must decide for ourselves which direction we're going to take. If we need to fight the system, let's fight the system in the name of Jesus Christ because it's important and it links with our history. So thank you so much even to Cain in absentia for coming through the platform. Everyone who stayed until the end. Normally we end at, we don't normally end at 4. That's always the advertised time, but we never end at 4. So thank you for staying through this whole particular platform. I'll ask us now to have a word of prayer where we pray for the oppressed and the oppressor. Because that's the name of Jesus, the oppressed and the oppressor, so that we can bring across all those problems that we're having with the system, where we find ourselves being clogged and being suffocated, and we can't breathe, and literally we definitely cannot breathe. So we want someone to pray for us. So what I'll do now, I'll just unmute someone so that they can be able to pray for us. I'll ask Divine Ngomalo, Father Divine Ngomalo, I'll ask you to pray for us. So I am going to unmute you now very quickly, Brother Divine Ngomalo. Thank you to the Facebook family as well. We really appreciate your presence as well. Divine, I'm unmuting you. Take us to the throne of grace.
All right, let's pray. Father God, right above in heaven, thank you for this opportunity they've given us to learn about our history as Black people. You help us, oh God, in that as we continue to learn these things, may be able to live in accordance to the purpose why you created us. Be with us now and bless us all. Be with us throughout the rest of the week. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much to everyone that has come through. We're stopping the live stream on Facebook now. I'm going to stop the live stream. There we go.